Hey everyone, Flo from Off to Lens here, and today we're going to talk about lenses, and more specifically, modern cine lenses. Over the past decade, we have seen an increasingly large number of companies releasing affordable cine lenses, and for the last 8 years or so, I've been lucky enough to test and use a lot of them. From anamorphic to spherical, cheap prices to high quality glass. In this video, I want to share my take and thoughts on them, and which ones I would recommend depending on the type of filmmaker and project. Which lens I would choose for certain projects or prefer and why is something that I get asked pretty much every day, so I thought I would make this video and hopefully it will be helpful. And as always, before I start, be sure to subscribe to see more videos like this one, and let's jump into it. This video is sponsored by audio. I have been a filmmaker for nearly 15 years now, and like most people, at the start I used stills lenses. I started with the classic 50 and 35mm, as well as zooms, like the 24-105 and 70-200. I actually still use the zooms to this day, especially for travel and outdoor content. But of course, as my career and style grew and evolved, I started using cine lenses. 8 to 10 years ago, there weren't as many options as today, but we could notice a few different brands starting to release affordable cine lenses, either made from scratch or that were modified stills versions. To this day, I have used around 15 different sets of lenses from 8 different manufacturers for different projects ranging from documentary to commercial, but also outdoor and personal. Now, this video is not a direct comparison between them or which one is better than the other, but more which one I would recommend based on different filmmakers and scenarios. I will also discuss briefly what I think about each of them and why or how I use them. I will split this video in different categories: spherical Super 35 and a micro four thirds, spherical full frame and above, anamorphic, and cine zooms. Of course, I also use vintage glass, but this is another topic for another day. Regardless of their release date, most of the lenses featured in this video are still available today, and I will make sure to list them below as much as I can. And for most of them, I also made full in-depth reviews, so feel free to check them out. Even though I only use full-frame cameras these days, I actually started with Super 35 and micro four thirds sensors. My first proper video-focused cameras were the Blackmagic OG Pocket, the Canon C100 Mark II, and the BMPCC 4K. Technically, my first new lenses for dedicated video work were the Laowa 7.5mm and 9mm, and had also tested and used the Voigtlanders. But those were also usable and made for photography, so I prefer to leave them out, even though I really liked them at the time. Meike S35. The Meike Primes were my first new cine lenses. I originally bought the 25mm micro four thirds online, and I used it mainly with the BMPCC 4K. I instantly loved the look and the shooting experience. This was very different for me going from stills lenses. The size was great, and it was a powerful and compact combo with the BMPCC 4K. Shortly after, I moved to the BMPCC 6K and then the 6K Pro, and decided to still use Meike cine lenses since they were also available in Super 35. I then used and owned pretty much the rest of the set that I kept for a few years. Their price, size, weight, image and build quality made them an easy one to recommend for anyone getting into filmmaking wanting that cine lens look and feel. I used them for documentary, outdoors, personal content, and pretty much everything in between. Not the most amazing lenses, of course, but great value. I believe they are still available today, new or used, and if you own a Super 35 or micro four thirds sensor, they should definitely be on your list as they offer a lot for their price. Now let's talk about full-frame lenses, cine zooms, and anamorphic glass, but before that, here's a quick word about today's sponsor, Audio. I'm really happy for Audio to be a new sponsor of this channel for 2026. Audio is a platform to license music and sound effects, and I've been using them for the past few months, and I've been very happy so far. They have a massive high-end catalog with unlimited access to tons of curated songs from top indie artists and composers. But what really matters to me is firstly the single license that covers you for practically everything, from YouTube monetization to social media, podcasts, weddings, and even commercial work. They also have a lifetime coverage. This means that any track that you download during your subscription is licensed to that project forever, even if you cancel your plan later. They also have a bunch of different tools that I've been trying over the past few months and that I'm still exploring. Link Match is one that I've really been enjoying, for example, where you can paste a link from Spotify or YouTube and the tool will find tracks in your audio library with a similar energy. Very useful for me that listens to and get inspired by a lot of soundtracks and music. So far I have created a dozen playlists ranging from drama to electronic and ambient, and I've put aside more than 30 tracks already to use on current and future projects. Some of you have noticed as well that I also remade my intro on YouTube using a track from audio, and I really like it. I also love that they focus on human creativity and not AI generated music, which is super important for me. And if you're interested in audio, feel free to use the link in the description to check it out and use code OFF2Lens to get 70% off your first year of Audio Pro, which brings the first year price down to just $59. This is probably the most complete category. Siri Jupiter. My first full set of full-frame modern cinema lenses were the Siri Jupiter. I absolutely love them and they were my favorite for a couple of years. Firstly because I love the image, but also because they are light, nice to use, and on top of that, macro. They are also affordable and have a decent range from 24mm to 100mm. This made for a very nice combination. Not the most amazing build quality, but I still use them to this day as I genuinely like the look and feel of them. If you don't want to spend too much, they are now quite cheap and offer great value, and macro is something that you don't find in every cine lens. I would recommend them for someone starting out with a full-frame cinema camera, needing a full set that is neutral enough for all projects. Next we have the DZO-Rs. These are incredible lenses and ones that I use as much as I can. Very well built, amazing image, t1.4 for most focal length, great to use, and a very useful range from 14mm all the way to 180mm. I have shot some of my favorite images with them. They are more expensive than most lenses in this video, but they are definitely above in many aspects. Their size and weight is the only thing that bother me about them. I would recommend these to someone already established as a filmmaker or someone that wants a fast set with a beautiful look and feel. These should also be considered for people shooting open gate on larger sensors, and I think they are more suited to small and large crew rather than solo shooters, due to the size and weight and the rigging involved. Next we have the Thybox Chimera Cs. These tiny modern cine lenses are very unique. They have a very distinct look that make them feel like vintage glass but behave like modern ones. I love the image, size and weight, and I also have a usable range from 21mm to 75mm. These are lenses that can be used for commercial work, but also for travel and personal content like I do. They also work very well on gimbals. Keep in mind that these are made for mirrorless mounts. I recommend this to anyone that wants a vintage look and feel without wanting the quirks you can have with vintage glass, or for anyone that wants a look that isn't too clean. Next we have the Suri Vision Primes. These were my first full-frame cine lenses made for mirrorless mounts. I really enjoy the image, size and weight, and they are super fast at t1.4. I just wish that they had more focal length. They should be on the list of anyone looking to get a set of modern cine lenses for their mirrorless mount without breaking the bank. DZO Vespid. The Vespids need no introduction. They have been the go-to modern cinema lens for many filmmakers since their release a few years ago, and for good reason. From their first to latest version, as well as the Retro series, the Vespid have been extremely reliable, offer a huge range of focal length, are fast, cover most sensors, and have the look and build quality we need. To me, this should be on the list of every filmmaker, regardless of the level or crew size, as they strike a great balance between price, size, image, feel, and reliability. I often say that you can't go wrong with a Vespid lineup, and I mean it. Then we have the Nisi Aurus. These were my first Nisi lenses, and they did not disappoint. Aside from the beautiful image and bokeh, what surprised me the most is their build quality and overall feel. They feel incredible to use and in the hand, probably the best I have ever owned in that regard. And for the sensor coverage, build quality and how fast they happen to be quite small and light when compared to the Rs, for example. They also glow in the dark, and aside from being cool, it can actually be quite useful. I just hope they release more focal length in the future, especially on the longer end. They might seem pricey for modern, affordable cine lenses, but they are 100% worth it. I recommend these for anyone looking at the Rs that may want lenses a little smaller and lighter with a better finish. Now let's talk about anamorphic lenses. Anamorphic glass is not something that solo shooters were able to even think about owning or even using just 10 years ago. The demand and offer has changed drastically over the past few years, and I've been lucky enough to use and now own several anamorphic lenses. Greyjoy or Blazer 1.8. My first ever modern anamorphic lens was a Greyjoy, now Blazer, 1.8 times. These weren't perfect, a little heavy, and with a squeeze factor that would change when racking focus, but they had a beautiful look and they felt anamorphic. I used all three of them, and I would still recommend them if you can find them used or at a good price, as they do offer good value and I really like the image and colors. Next we have the Laowa Nanomorph. Now keep in mind that I've only used a 65mm. It is small, light, and with a pretty good image. Not the most anamorphic look, but a good entry point if you're looking at trying out anamorphic. This is one that I wouldn't recommend today though, as there are much better options out there, but thought I'd mention it. Then we have the Suri Iron Star. I genuinely like these ones. I've used them to film very varied environments, from hiking in French Alps to exploring New York City and documenting family moments, and I'm a big fan of the look. I actually shot my favorite frame ever with them. They don't have the strongest anamorphic look or the best build quality, but they do offer great value, and they are lenses that I would easily recommend for anyone wanting to get a solid set of anamorphic lenses that aren't too expensive, look great, and are nice to use and produce beautiful images. Next we have the Suri Astra. These are interesting and very different from all the rest since they have autofocus. It is crazy to think that we are now at a point where we can get affordable anamorphic lenses, but we can also have them with autofocus. The Astra are small and light, but aren't the best looking lenses and also don't have the greatest build quality, and I wish that they had more wider focal length. They also don't have a strong anamorphic look, but still have a lovely image and some flares. They're also very nice to use, and the autofocus is pretty impressive even on my Blackmagic cameras. They work very well on gimbals too. Their price is quite good as well for what they offer. I would recommend them for anyone wanting both anamorphic and autofocus. Now we have the DZO Arcana, the most recent anamorphic lenses I have used and probably my favorite now for several reasons. First of all, I love the image. They really produce a strong anamorphic look for being only 1.5 times. They are also great to use, light, small, and I love the exterior finish. They also cover large sensors, and their price is ridiculously good for what they offer. These are lenses that I would recommend for anyone looking at great anamorphic lenses to own, period. They should cost double, and I can't wait for them to release more focal length. I'm genuinely impressed. I also wanted to include the Atlas Mercuries in this list. These are modern anamorphic lenses, but their price put them well above the others in this list. I got the chance to use them on a commercial last year with my friend Thomas Tessier, and I'm a big fan. Amazing image, feel, and shooting experience. They're also quite fast, and they have a very useful range of focal length to choose from. Because of their price, I wouldn't recommend them to filmmakers wanting to buy a set, especially solo shooters, but I would highly recommend them for anyone wanting to use and rent a set of high-quality anamorphic lenses. They truly are incredible. Cinezooms are a category that can be quite specific, and in my case, one that I'm interested in since I shoot documentary and outdoor content. They can strike a great balance between image quality and practicality. Laowa Rangers. These are probably my favorite cinezooms. I was surprised by the image. Cinezooms are on primes of course, and so sometimes they can feel a little underwhelming when comparing pure image quality and depth. But these are quite impressive. They also have a crazy good and useful range going from 16mm all the way to 180. The one I prefer is a 28-75, as I can essentially shoot an entire project just with one lens. Keep in mind that they are quite heavy, but also not too big either. I recommend them to any filmmaker that specializes in documentary or event when changing lenses isn't an option. Or simply to someone that still wants to retain that cine lens look without sacrificing practicality and range. DZO Picta. The DZO Picta were the first cinezooms I ever used. I enjoyed the shooting experience, but the image isn't the most amazing and not on par with the other DZO Primes lineup. They are also only for Super 35 sensors, which can be a deal breaker these days. That being said, they are still great value, nice to use, offer a good range, and are very well made. So if you own a Super 35 sensor camera, you should definitely check them out. I also use the Laowa Proteus anamorphic zooms. Anamorphic zooms aren't the most common lenses out there, and it is quite incredible that they even exist at that price point. I like the Proteus, and I used them for a documentary a year ago, and I was quite pleased with the results. Now, they are not my favorite in terms of the image, as the distortion can be a bit much, and the overall look isn't amazing to me. They are still very useful, but I would only recommend them to filmmakers that need the combination of both anamorphic and zoom. As always, the most important factors to consider when choosing lenses, either to own or rent, is how well they serve the story or project, what camera you use, what environment you will shoot in, and of course the budget. We are lucky these days that we have so many options to pick from, and I feel it makes choosing easier and harder at the same time. That's it for me for today, guys. Hope you've enjoyed this video and that it was helpful to you, and if you did, feel free to subscribe. And let me know in the comments what lenses you use these days and why. Thanks again Audio for sponsoring this video. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Also, feel free to check out my 2 ebooks, Freelance Documentary Filmmaking and Travel Cinematography, where you can find a streamlined but comprehensive overview from pre-production all the way to marketing, built on years of my own experience shooting short documentaries and travel videos around the world. And if you are interested, I'm also doing filmmaking mentoring sessions when you can ask me anything about a wide variety of topics.